Solitary confinement is a medieval tool designed to break men, hurt men, cause them an untold amount of psychological and spiritual and physical suffering. It has no place in our criminal justice system. It has no place in our society. Despite this reality, it is routinely used against men for punitive purposes, to send a message to men that we, the prison guards, are in charge and you are nothing. You're nothing. You can cry, you can scream, you can shout, you can fight back. No one in the world will hear you. You are in prison. You belong to us. You are under our absolute control, dominion, power, and jurisdiction. And if you do not do exactly what you are told to do, we will break you. This is wrong. This is a disgrace. This is a despicable practice that has no place in civilized society, never mind the United States of America. Solitary confinement is defined as 22 hours or more of captivity per day, absent meaningful human contact. Prolonged solitary confinement is solitary confinement for more than 15 days at a time. Prolonged solitary confinement is, by definition, torture. It is considered torture under the international gold standard for the way their prisoners are treated, known as the United Nations Nelson Mandela rules, famously attributed to Nelson Mandela, who did 27 years in prison, most of that time in solitary confinement. Why do we use this tool? Who do we use this tool against the most? Black and Latino men. Black and Latino men have suffered more in solitary confinement than anyone else, at a disproportionately high rate, for a multitude of societal reasons that are unjust and that are very, very wrong. I became a lawyer because my own brother was wrongfully convicted of a crime he did not commit. My brother is schizophrenic. Because he has mental issues, the prison did not know how to take care of him. Other inmates wanted to hurt him, so they put him in solitary confinement for almost 5 years. And what was already a broken man, it took the rest of the good that was in him and left him a shell of his former self. It's a gross and terrible thing to do to somebody. Before I started representing January 6ers, and before I started my own law firm, I worked for the Legal Aid Society in Manhattan. I defended almost exclusively Black and Latino men. I was very proud of the time, devotion, and attention that they gave to the subject of solitary confinement. A man gets taken from his family, he gets thrown into solitary confinement, and they break him. And they break his family, and his wife, and his children, and his business, and it reverberates through the community. And it's tragic, and it's wrong. And this is exactly what organizations like the Legal Aid Society, the Innocence Project, the ACLU, and Amnesty International have been trying to convey to the world for the past 50 years. I went to Congress, and I got over 40 members of Congress to agree to sign on to legislation that would ban the use of prolonged solitary confinement for any person in federal custody. This is what people need to understand. I approached your representatives in Congress. Hey, McBride and a bunch of other people have a bunch of white Southern Republicans who want to sign on to criminal justice reform, in particular to reforming solitary confinement and limit the damage that it does to so many men. But because the legislation was also going to help Trump supporters who are languishing in jail, they didn't want to touch it with a 100-foot pole. What is that? What is that? We have an opportunity here to put this thing to bed, to kill it once and for all, and they don't want to step up? They don't want to step up. You know what they all said? Well, they only want to do this because there are white Trump supporters suffering in jail. Where were they for the past 50 years? And I told them, you're right. Let me take that question back to them. And I took it back. I had one meeting with like the entire Freedom Caucus. I looked at them and I said, this was the response that I got. Where have you been for the past 50 years? And you know what they all said to me? We got it wrong. We never believed that this could happen to Americans. We never believed it. We heard about it. We didn't believe it. We got it wrong. I said to them, well, that's good enough. I'll take it back. And I went back and I told the other side, look, they said they got it wrong. And they're willing to come to the table and apologize if you're willing to work with them on this. Do you know how many Democrats reciprocated and were willing to forgive and to move on and to pass meaningful legislation that would help Black and Latino men as well as white men suffering in prison, suffering in solitary confinement, suffering in pretrial detention in dungeons like MDC? You know how many of them helped? None. Not one. Why would you ever vote for them again? Why? I walked away. I voted for Obama. But I left the Democratic Party because of the bullshit and the hypocrisy, the white liberal hypocrisy. And so should you.